Hello everyone. Let us understand supply today. Before understanding supply, it is better to watch my previous video on demand to understand supply it in a better way. The definition of supply says it is a quantity of a product that producers are willing and able to sell at various prices during a given period of time. In my previous video, I have told you about the importance of definitions in economics. Let us break down the definition of supply to understand it a better way. Here the key takeaways are your willingness, ability, prices and period of time. We know time dimensions are very crucial in economics. So the willingness and ability of the producer can be understood with the help of an example. Yes. So let us understand the law of supply. The law of supply states that there is direct relationship between price and quantity supplied ceteris paribus. So here we are strictly taking into consideration the one-on-one relationship between price and quantity supplied. So this can be illustrated with the help of a supply schedule. The supply schedule is a statistical number which shows us the relationship between price and quantity supplied. We can see here when the price was 10,000, the supplier was ready to supply only 10 units of television. In our previous example, when we discussed about demand, we are considering the same example. When the price increased to 20,000, the quantity supplied is increased to 15. When the price is 30,000, the quantity supplied is increased to 25. When the price kept on increasing, the producer was happy to supply more. The major reason behind this is the profit motive. We know the cost of production will increase as we produce more. So obviously the producer will charge higher price for additional units that is producing. So there are various factors that can affect supply. We will look into it later. First, let us understand the demand supply curve. The supply curve is a graphical illustration of the supply schedule. Supply schedule can be individual supply schedule and market supply schedule. In the supply curve, when we plot on the points, we can see. Let us assume at this point, when the price is assumed to be 30,000, the quantity supplied was 25. So now, when the price decreased, your quantity supplied decreases. When your price increases from 30,000 to 50,000, your quantity supplied increases to 50. So this again holds true for the law of supply, which says there is direct relationship between price and quantity supplied. Now let us look at the factors that can affect your supply. The factors can be understood by the mnemonics PPT, FCC, G. So price of the product, price of related goods, those are the substitutes and complements, technology, factor prices, that is the labor, the factor inputs, your C stands for cost of production, climate and government policies. So how these factors will have an impact on the supply curve. So we know that producers are profit motive. So when they want to increase the quantity supplied, obviously they will increase the price. So now let us understand how these factors will affect your supply curve. When will there be a movement in the supply curve? Like how we saw it in demand. Supply curve will also, the movement on the supply curve will be only because of the price factor. Not to forget the axis that we have in our graph. On x-axis we consider quantity supplied and y-axis we consider price. So what happens when the price of the television changes? Your quantity supplied by the producer will change. So let us assume we are in this point at point A. When the price was 30,000, the quantity supplied is 25. Now when the price decreased to 20,000, your quantity supplied is decreased to 15. So let's mark this as point B. When the price increased to 50,000, the quantity supplied is 50. Let's mark this as point C. So the movement from your initial equilibrium, that is from point A to point B, is what we call as contraction. The movement from either point A to point C or from point B to point C is what we call as expansion. So the movement of the supply curve will be only because of the price factor. So when there is change in price, if your quantity supplied is decreasing, then there is contraction in supply curve. When the quantity supplied is increasing, then there is expansion in the supply curve. Okay. When will there be a shift in supply curve? Shift in supply curve will be because of non-price factors. That is like price of related goods, change in technology, factor prices, your cost of production, climate and government policies. So when any of these factors will have affects the supply, the quantity supplied will change. So let us consider when there is change in any of these non-price factors, our equilibrium position from A will shift to B. That is, the supply curve will shift to the right side. When there is decrease in any of the factors, for example, let us assume that there is change in technology. When the technology prices becomes cheap, you will be able to supply more at the same price. That is, the quantity, the supply curve will shift to its right with its new equilibrium at point B. So now, when the technology becomes costly or when the technology becomes inefficient, your supply curve will shift to the left, that is to the point C. So here, to be noted here is that any change in this does not necessarily mean your supply is changing, rather your quantity supplied is changing. So the shift in supply curve will be because of non-price factors. The movement along the supply curve will be because of price factor. Thank you.